Remember when cooking wasn't about fancy gadgets or Instagram-worthy presentations? When every meal told a story of resourcefulness, creativity, and love? Our grandparents didn't just cook, they performed kitchen magic with nothing more than ingenuity and a few simple tricks. Today, we're uncovering 15 forgotten kitchen hacks that transformed ordinary meals into extraordinary memories. These aren't just recipes, they're a testament to the wisdom passed down through generations, one clever trick at a time. Imagine serving a pie that looks, smells, and tastes exactly like apple pie, except it contains 0 apples. Welcome to the mock apple pie, a culinary marvel born during the Great Depression that continued to amaze families well into the 1970s. The secret: Ritz crackers. By layering crackers with sugar, lemon juice, and classic apple pie spices, home cooks created a dessert that fooled even the most discerning palates. When baked under a flaky crust, the crackers transformed, mimicking the texture and flavor of cooked apples perfectly. This wasn't just a recipe, it was a symbol of resilience, proving that creativity could turn the simplest ingredients into something magical. Have you ever tasted a dessert that completely fooled your senses? Speaking of transforming simple ingredients, another kitchen staple became the secret weapon in nearly every dish. Bacon grease wasn't just a byproduct, it was liquid gold stored in a tin right by the stove. Every drop was saved, carefully collected after breakfast, and used to elevate almost everything that needed cooking. Beans, greens, cornbread, gravy, nothing escaped the smoky, rich enhancement of bacon grease. It stretched flavor when meat was scarce, added richness when butter was too expensive, and gave food an unmistakable depth that no modern seasoning could replicate. Some cooks filtered it through cheesecloth to remove burned bits, while others poured it straight in. I remember my grandmother's bacon grease tin sitting on the counter, always ready to add that extra something to dinner. This wasn't just cooking, it was a quiet tradition passed down, usually without words, from one generation to the next. While bacon grease added flavor through fat, another trick used simple chemistry to transform tough ingredients. Southern kitchens had a quiet trick for making dried beans cook faster and come out creamier. Just add a teaspoon of baking soda. It sounded like kitchen science fiction, but it worked like a charm every single time. You'd soak your beans overnight, but the baking soda softened the outer skin and made the simmering go quicker the next day. Pinto beans, black-eyed peas, navy beans all got the same treatment. The result? Tender beans that fell apart with incredible ease, transforming a potentially tough ingredient into a creamy, comforting dish. This wasn't just about saving time, it was about turning humble ingredients into something truly delicious. Who knew a simple box of baking soda could be such a kitchen superhero? Just when you thought kitchen creativity couldn't get more impressive, home cooks found ways to turn trash into treasure. Before parchment paper was easy to find, people made do with what they had. Wax paper, brown bags, or whatever lined their grocery haul became essential baking tools. When cake pans needed lining, out came the scissors and a clean paper sack. You'd trace the pan, cut out a perfect circle or rectangle, and lay it flat on the bottom. Some would grease it cautiously, while old-timers claimed it would pop right off without greasing. Wax paper helped sponge cakes lift clean, kept banana bread from sticking, and let home bakers feel just a little bit professional. Some bakers even saved cereal box liners, wiped them clean, and repurposed them for cookie trays. Waste not, want not. That was the golden rule. These liners didn't look pretty, but they worked, and that's what mattered most. Which of these tricks brings back memories? Share your kitchen stories in the comments. Resourcefulness wasn't just about repurposing materials, it was about making every ingredient count. In tough times, one egg could stretch dinner and buy a family a few more hours of full stomachs. Home cooks understood that protein wasn't just about quantity, but creative distribution that made meals feel abundant. A single egg could be whisked into a sauce, added to stretch a meatloaf, or used to bind leftovers into a frittata. It wasn't about having abundance, but making abundance from what you had. Families learned to transform a potentially meager meal into something filling and nutritious. This wasn't just cooking, it was an act of love, ensuring no one went hungry and every ingredient was respected. Can you imagine the creativity it took to feed a family when resources were tight? While eggs stretched meals, another technique kept soups and stews looking restaurant quality. Before refrigerators did all the heavy lifting, cooks had to get creative with grease. If a soup or stew came out with a layer of oil floating on top, you needed a quick way to fix it without waiting hours for fat to rise and harden. The solution? Wrap an ice cube in cheesecloth or a clean rag, then skim it across the pot's surface. The fat would cling to the cold surface, harden instantly, and lift away with each pass. It was kitchen sorcery. The broth stayed hot, the flavor stayed rich, but the grease was gone. This method saved dinner more times than anyone could count, whether it was beef stew, chicken soup, or a pot of beans. The trick was passed down by watching, not reading, and it worked every single time. Saving dinner was one thing, but saving ingredients from the trash was another level of kitchen wisdom. Limp lettuce didn't always mean ruined dinner. In the 70s, if your greens looked tired, you gave them a cold shock that brought them back to life. A quick soak in ice water with a splash of lemon juice worked absolute magic. The ice firmed up the leaves while the lemon helped with color and crispness. After just 10 minutes, those sad, droopy greens would crisp up, looking fresh and ready for your salad. It was a simple trick that prevented food waste and rescued what might have been thrown away. This wasn't just about saving lettuce, it was about respecting ingredients and finding creative solutions. Every bit of food mattered, and nothing went to waste if there was a way to save it. Have you tried any of these tricks in your own kitchen? Let us know which ones you'd love to revive. Sugar often came in hard blocks that could be challenging to use. The classic trick: let it sit near your stove or in a warm spot. The gentle heat would soften the sugar, making it easier to scoop or grate without breaking a sweat. Some cooks would place a damp cloth over the sugar, allowing moisture to slowly break down the hardened blocks. This method saved more than just ingredients, it saved effort. You didn't need to chip away at a sugar brick or run it through a grater like you were mining for gold. It was quiet kitchen knowledge passed down through generations, tucked between baking powder tips and pie crust repairs. A small but significant hack that made cooking just a little bit easier. Preserving pantry staples was essential, but so was extracting every bit of nutrition from what you cooked. Before we understood full nutritional science, home cooks knew instinctively that vegetable cooking water was liquid gold. Instead of dumbing it down the drain, they'd save the water from boiled vegetables to use in soups, gravies, or as a base for cooking grains. This water was packed with nutrients and flavor that would otherwise be lost forever. A pot of boiled carrots, that water became the start of a rich vegetable soup. Potatoes boiled, use that starchy water to thicken sauces or add depth to bread recipes. It wasn't just about saving water, it was about extracting every bit of flavor and nutrition possible. Nothing was wasted, and every drop had purpose. Imagine turning what most people throw away into the foundation of your next meal. That's the kind of creativity our grandparents had. Similar to the mock apple pie, bakers discovered they could create a pumpkin pie without actual pumpkin. Using squash or sweet potato as a base, they'd add the classic pumpkin pie spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and create a pie that tasted exactly like the traditional version. During times of scarcity, this trick allowed families to enjoy a beloved dessert when pumpkins weren't available. It wasn't about deception, but adaptation. Home cooks understood that flavor was about technique, spices, and creativity more than strict ingredient adherence. This pie represented resilience, showing that delicious food could be created even with limited resources. The taste of tradition didn't require traditional ingredients. While some tricks created impossible desserts, others preserved summer's bounty for winter's chill. Before modern refrigeration, preserving fresh herbs was an art form that separated good cooks from great ones. Home cooks would chop herbs, mix them with a bit of olive oil, and freeze them in ice cube trays. Once frozen, they'd transfer the herb cubes to a freezer bag. When a recipe called for fresh herbs, they'd simply drop a cube directly into the cooking pot. The oil prevented freezer burn, and the herbs retained most of their flavor and vibrancy. This method meant fresh herb taste was always just a cube away, even in the middle of winter. It wasn't just preservation, it was ensuring a taste of summer could brighten any meal, no matter the season. One simple trick brought gardens indoors year-round. Do you remember your grandmother's kitchen tricks? Share them in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories. Preserving herbs required planning, but some tricks were all about improvisation in the moment. Before specialized baking tools were common or affordable, home cooks improvised brilliantly. No pastry cutter. A fork worked perfectly for cutting butter into flour. 2 knives could do the job, or steady hands and patience would get you there. The key was keeping butter cold and flour dry until the last second. When it came together, the results were magical: flaky pie crusts, tender biscuits, perfect dumplings. It wasn't about having the right tool, but understanding the technique and trusting your instincts. Nobody asked what tool you used when they tasted that perfect pie crust, they just asked for seconds. Sometimes the best kitchen equipment was simply knowing what you were doing. Improvisation wasn't limited to tools, it extended to ingredients themselves. When milk was scarce or expensive, home cooks had a clever trick: powdered milk. They'd mix powdered milk with whole milk to extend its volume and stretch the family's dairy budget without anyone noticing the difference. The trick was in the mixing, adding just enough powdered milk to extend the volume without changing the taste dramatically. Some would mix it into baking recipes, others into drinking milk, ensuring the family always had milk available for cereal, coffee, and cooking. It wasn't just about saving money, it was about ensuring no one went without. A glass of milk at dinner wasn't a luxury, it was expected, and home cooks made sure it happened. While some tricks stretched ingredients, others enhanced them in surprising ways. A splash of vinegar could transform an entire dish from bland to brilliant. Home cooks knew that a little acid could brighten flavors, cut through richness, and add depth to seemingly ordinary recipes. A teaspoon of vinegar in a pot of beans, a splash in gravy, or a drizzle over roasted vegetables could elevate the entire meal. Different vinegars offered different profiles: apple cider vinegar for sweetness, white vinegar for sharpness, red wine vinegar for complexity. It wasn't about drowning a dish in acid, but using it strategically to enhance existing flavors and make them sing. This wasn't just cooking, it was flavor engineering. One ingredient, used wisely, could make the difference between forgettable and unforgettable. Finally, one last trick showed how nothing, absolutely nothing, went to waste in a resourceful kitchen. Before a modern refrigeration, preserving citrus was an art that turned potential waste into treasured treats. Home cooks would candy citrus peels, transforming what might have been garbage into a sweet delicacy that lasted for months. They'd boil the peels in sugar syrup, then roll them in granulated sugar to create a long-lasting, delicious preserve. These candied peels could be eaten as a treat, used in baking, or added to tea. Nothing was wasted. The entire fruit found a purpose and a second life. This wasn't just preservation, it was transformation. It was seeing potential where others saw trash and creating something beautiful from what might have been thrown away. That's the spirit of our grandparents' kitchens. These 15 forgotten kitchen hacks are more than just clever tricks. They're a window into how our grandparents approached cooking with creativity, resourcefulness, and love. Every ingredient mattered. Every scrap had potential, and nothing was ever truly wasted. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to Vintage America Tales and share in the comments which of these kitchen tricks would you love to try in your own kitchen. Do you remember your grandmother using any of these hacks? Let's keep these culinary memories alive, one hack at a time.